I'd like to welcome you, all you documentary fans, supporters of the documentary film. You know that that's what the Hamptons Take Documentary Film Festival is all about. It was founded by documentary filmmakers, for documentary filmmakers. I'm Jackie LaFaro, the director, and we are really pleased to have you here tonight. This is one of our pre-festival events that we're going to be doing throughout the year. But we like to do a whole program around it. So we're going to be seeing a political film for an hour called Patriocracy. We are really lucky enough tonight to have both Ken Rudin, the political junkie for NPR. We will also have, we're very lucky to have, by a fluke because we changed the date of the event, the filmmaker, Brian Malone.
I've discovered something very profound in making this film. And I think it's better to show you than to tell you. So that's my secret. Anyway, look, I really want to thank Jackie and the Take-Two Film Festival, Hamptons Take-Two Film Festival, for having me. It's wonderful to come out here. I've been dotting the map with this film in different parts of the country. I've screened everywhere from New Hampshire to California, down to South Carolina, and I tell you, I get a little slice of American democracy everywhere I go.
There is a huge feeling of anger and frustration, in fact, disgust at what goes on here in Washington.
We're in big trouble, and the reason we're in big trouble is because things don't work. What happens is that people don't talk to each other, they talk at each other.
No, you don't love America. You don't love the Constitution.
These last couple of years are the worst and the nastiest and the meanest that I can remember in the 41 years I've been in Washington.
There's no trust in Washington.
What we have is a partisanship problem. You have people who get elected. They're thinking uppermost at first, how does this affect my political party?
If you want your news delivered from a conservative point of view, you can get it delivered from a conservative point of view. If you want a liberal view, you can find somebody to give it to you that way. But the result of that is we no longer all have the same database.
And they make millions off of green pea people who listen to their crap. The Supreme Court of the United States making a decision that a corporation is like a person to give money, even now anonymously, to get into campaign? Madness.
You can run any kind of ad you want, under any kind of patriotic name you want, and no one knows who's paid for that ad. If there's a place where money is going to corrupt campaigns, Citizens United decision did it.
I don't really care what people think or do anything. It's just if they could talk about it.
I think not only can we do it, not only do we have to do it, but people need to start setting an example.
I do think citizens need to be much more engaged. You have to be informed.
We are the mainstream of America. We represent the sensible center and the majority in the middle.
If we leave this to the activists on the right or even on the left alone, then we're going to have more of the same.
Patriocracy.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for having me. And Brian, thank you for this film. I don't necessarily agree with everything in this movie, but I do agree with the conclusion that things don't work. What this film does do, and I think it's very fair, is that things are getting worse. It didn't start with the Tea Party in 2010. For all the attacks on Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter and all those, the presidents of the past, I had never seen anything as ugly as what I saw during the Clinton administration. The stuff that was said about Bill and Hillary Clinton went beyond ideology. It was personal, and it was just horrific and sickening. And I kept thinking that I'd never see anything this bad again. And then came George W. Bush, and it got worse again. The Democrats would not vote on Bush's judges. I mean, we always talk about the gridlock in Congress today, the gridlock in Washington today, but it didn't begin on January 20th, 2009. I'm not defending Tea Party supporters, I'm not defending Republicans, but the point is it's going on, it's been going on and on and on, and it gets worse and worse and worse.
A lot of TV stations get most of their audience on the internet now. In fact, I don't know, you probably noticed this, a lot of TV stations are pushing their websites now to go instead of watching their TV stations. But what that means is that there's the pieces of the pie. There are a lot more pieces of pie for those same advertising dollars, and so the fight has gotten a lot more voracious for TV stations, traditional TV stations and networks and everyone, all competing for those same ad dollars. And so what's happening is that, you know, that's the real cash cow. That's the only thing you can really count on is political advertising.
For an electorate to make decisions about whom to support or who to vote for, you need to know where they stand. And the media has got to do, and it's like a broken record because I've been saying this for decades here, but you've got to explain what they stand for, what they will do in office, how their positions differ from others.
It's important to note there's a couple of forces that you may or may not know about that kind of has led in part to this really partisan media, and that is starting with Reagan, and then in Clinton, and then Bush W. In I think it's 2006. This series of deregulation bills that loosened the reins on broadcasters' obligation to their communities. I mean, you used to be able to hold broadcasters accountable, or you could pull their license. Those obligations for broadcasters really no longer, for all intents and purposes, no longer exist. So what happens is that broadcasters no longer broadcast news that is a public service. They're broadcasting more for what their market demographic is, whether it's MSNBC for liberal-leaning audiences or progressive-leaning audiences, and obviously Fox News is programming very deliberately for conservative-leaning audiences. So it's more marketing and less news. In fact, I'd say it's all marketing and no news.
As I've said, I think it's worse than ever. I won't compare the 2000 election, which was disputed by many, to the 2008 election, but I know that the day after the 2000 election, Democrats would say, you know, this is a fraudulent election. It was stolen. It was, you know, rigged by Catherine Harris. And so there were conspiracy theories on the left as well. And Democrats said that they would do everything they can to thwart President Bush.
What part of the current vitriol do you think is related to racism? The fact that our president is a half a black.
I think to ignore it or dismiss it is naive. I think, given the fact that there are a lot of parts of this country that have never voted for a Republican, like, for example, in states like there are parts of Arkansas, which is not known for Republican. I mean, they went overwhelmingly for McCain. McCain got some better support. I mean, given all the strikes against the Republican Party in 2008, there are many parts of the country where McCain did better than George W. Bush in 2004. And is it a race? Is it partly race? Is it possibly it's part of race? It has to be. But at the same time, I still remember, again, as I said, the swastika with George W. Bush, the armband, you know, all the hate. And that was not a race thing. And with Bill Clinton, the hate on Bill and Hillary Clinton was not about race. I just think it's one more reason to hate, but it just seems like we just hate more and more and more, each succeeding. We like to hate. And the MSNBCs, or should I say the Olbermanns and the Glenn Becks of the world, feed off that.
I think we can all recognize the problems and what either side, whether it's race or the evaporation of the middle class or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I think we all recognize the problems, and it's fairly obvious. I mean, I think it's almost a well-worn story now. And to your point, I do think the solutions are more difficult, but they are there. I've just been frustrated, and I really don't know what to do, and that's why I made the film. So I'm looking for answers like anyone else, and I think I've learned a lot. I think there's a long way to go, but I do think that it really comes down to just kind of changing the little synapses or whatever in our heads to kind of just get out of this little cycle we're in of pointing fingers and calling each other out. It's unhealthy for the country.
I want to thank our panel. And please put the Hamptons Take Documentary Film Festival in your books. It's November 30th, December 1 and 2.